If you're disappointed after watching this video, just think about how disappointed the Packers are after signing Jimmy Graham. Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and today we're gonna take a look at the potential that is Jimmy Graham. Now, before we get into that, of course, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to my patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. Also, because I didn't think I shouted them out enough last time, check out Custom Creations by Seth. He's a 14-year-old kid who made this by hand just because he was a fan. And so he's awesome. Check him out. All the links are in the description down below. Smells like victory. I wanted to make this video. There was a couple of potential topics I had today, and there might still be a video or two coming out within the next couple days. But I really wanted to focus on Jimmy Graham because when he was signed, and you could go look at the proof on this channel, I was not ecstatic like many Packers fans were. Yeah, a lot of people are going, oh, well, this is the missing piece because we haven't had a great tight end since Jermichael Finley. Obviously, our opinions have changed on Jermichael Finley post-NFL and how he talks about Aaron Rodgers. But everyone thought that he was going to be that guy. People were still upset that we let Jared Cook go. Obviously, Martellus Bennett didn't work out at all. And so Jimmy Graham, we signed him for 3 years. We made him the highest paid tight end in the NFL. And last year, we didn't get a whole lot of bang for our buck. And so this year, coming into this year, people were saying potentially Jimmy Graham would get cut. I didn't think he would because if he's going to leave, I think it's going to be next year because we have an out in his contract. We'll get to that momentarily. But we also addressed the tight end position with Jay Sternberger in the draft, drafting him in the third round. And so what I wanted to do today is kind of just really solidify what our expectations are for Jimmy Graham, because obviously they were very, very high coming into last season. And after seeing him play for a year, and obviously he was injured, we'll talk, I know those expectations have gotten significantly lower, but can we expect him to rebound? Can we expect the New Orleans Saints Pro Bowl caliber player again? And I think in order to look at his potential future this season, we also have to look at his past. So why Jimmy Graham? Well, 2010 to 2014, obviously with the Saints, he did incredibly well. 3-time Pro Bowler, 386 receptions, 4,752 yards at 12.3 as an average, and 51 touchdowns. The guy was a touchdown machine. Now, I don't know if you know this, but every commentator's ever said it, that Jimmy Graham played basketball, and you heard that week after week, and so much that it became a meme. And so when the Seahawks wound up getting Jimmy Graham in 2015, I'm assuming, were hoping they were going to get the Pro Bowler Jimmy Graham. And he went to the Pro Bowl twice with them, but from 2015 to 2017, only had 170 receptions for 2,048 yards, averaging 12 yards still, 18 touchdowns, but he had 10 of those in 2017. So obviously didn't put up the numbers that Seattle would have wanted him to. And then in 2018, so last season, again, he had an injured thumb, but he was targeted 89 times, had 55 receptions, 636 yards, an 11.6 average, which is not too bad, and only 2 touchdowns. He caught 61.8% of his catches, which is the third lowest of his career. So as a Packers fan, obviously super disappointing, whether it was the dropped balls or whether it was just the lack of production from Jimmy Graham. And I want to be careful here because while a bunch of this does fall on Jimmy Graham, we also have to take a look at our previous tight ends and the Mike McCarthy scheme that was being run, and that we have not had a successful tight end in quite some time. So, for example, we go back to Jermichael Finley, right? From 2008 to 2013, had 2,785 yards, had 20 touchdowns. Obviously, was injured in that as well. His best season was 2011, which he had 55 receptions, 767 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And you had to go back. I mean, even Bubba Franks didn't have double-digit touchdowns, what was being projected for Jimmy Graham, or Mark Kamara didn't have it in the 90s either. And so I think our expectations were a bit too high, but continuing on with this whole Mike McCarthy theme, you had Jermichael Finley that he kind of built this offense around. He got hurt, and then that kind of shifted. 2016, even when we had Jared Cook, and everyone was like, oh man, we should re-sign him, obviously, he was hurt, but had 30 receptions, only 377 yards, and 1 touchdown. But everyone remembers him for that great catch in the divisional game against the Cowboys and are like, oh my God. And obviously, he's having success with the Raiders. And that shouldn't be shocking because, again, we haven't been setting up our tight ends for success in quite some time. I would argue since 2011 with Jermichael Finley. 2017, we have Martellus Bennett, only played 7 games, but only 24 receptions and 233 yards with no touchdowns. Lance Kendrick, who has been on the team, 37 receptions, and he had 373 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was on the team 2017 and 18. And then you had Andrew Corliss, who was never a main guy, but he wasn't getting the reps either. He wasn't getting the targets either. And so we haven't had, I would argue, since 2011, a scheme, an offense that is built around or that is accommodating for tight ends to find success. You look at a guy like Mercedes Lewis, who has a lot to offer, I would argue more in the blocking game, but is kind of just there, right? Lance Kendricks was just kind of there. And that's why I think in some part, Jimmy Graham was just there. Now, again, it was just his first year with the Packers, but I think if we're going to have some high expectations, it's not that Jimmy Graham is going to just be like, oh my goodness, I'm an amazing football player again. I just forgot how to last year. I think it's if he's going to be successful, and I think this is the last year that he could prove his success. Even though he signed for another year, we can cut him next year, and we'd have $3.6 million in dead cap. But I think that'd be a hit worth taking. He's going to be 33 years old this November. And again, who knows? If he has a breakout year, we might keep him on. But drafting Jay Sternberger, I think, kind of sealed his fate. But anyway, all that being said, the way that he's going to find success is with Nathaniel Hackett as the new offensive coordinator and, of course, Matt LaFleur, in that he's going to be that red zone target. He's going to be that guy who is going to be the mismatch. And that being said, that's the only way that I think that he is going to be able to quote unquote break out. But I don't see the guy getting double-digit touchdowns. I think it's unrealistic. And for all those who were calling for it last year, saying he was going to put up double digits, that hasn't happened in a really, really long time in Green Bay, and especially not under Mike McCarthy. And even further back with Hall of Famers or All Pros, it wasn't the case with the tight ends for the Packers. And so, that all being said, I think the offense that we're going to see this year is going to be a very different Green Bay Packer football team. I think it's going to be run-oriented. Matt LaFleur has made this very clear, and Nathaniel Hackett also leading one of the best run games with Jacksonville with Fournette, and the fact that they're going to use the Jamal Williams, Dexter Williams, and Aaron Jones as a committee. I think that it's going to be a very run-heavy team, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be given opportunities to be Aaron Rodgers, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers' stats aren't incredible this year. And again, that might not necessarily be bad because it's the sense of he doesn't have to be every single play. He doesn't have to go out there and he's like, oh, well, got to put the team on my back again because I've said this now for years. We need to build a team around Aaron Rodgers. It needs to be more than just the Aaron Rodgers show. And so Jimmy Graham, if we get anything out of it, even if his stats aren't great this year, hopefully he can teach Jay Sternberger how to be a successful tight end, because obviously the guy has been very successful in his career, and he's just going to most likely finish off his career with the Green Bay Packers. And so I would significantly lower our expectations for Jimmy Graham. I think you're going to have a lot of packages where you're going to have guys like Tanyan or Jimmy Graham or Mercedes Lewis in there, and of course Sternberger in there. And I think there's going to be a lot of competition for that spot. You know, there probably will be 2 tight end packages that will be utilized, but I wouldn't be shocked if he has maybe at most half a dozen touchdowns. And maybe, 636 yards, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere around there again. And I think that where he's going to become the most valuable is the red zone, right? I think there's going to be a lot of targeting towards Devontae Adams and a lot of targeting towards Geronimo Allison. Hopefully some of the other receivers from last year can pick it up. But I think that we need to significantly lower our expectations for Jimmy Graham. I don't think he's going to be on the team next year unless he somehow has a breakout year, which is possible. But I think it's not going to be the offense we're accustomed to seeing. And so because of that, I know there's lots of articles and as of late about Jimmy Graham and his productivity and his potential. I'm just saying be cautiously optimistic. I think he still brings value to the team. And if there is going to be a scheme that is going to harness that and break him out of or give him the most opportunities to be successful, it's going to be with this head coach and this offensive coordinator. So all we could do right now is see, but I'm also okay with kind of looking to the future, and I'm glad that we drafted Jay Sternberger, because even when we're getting Martellus Bennett or Jared Cook or now Jimmy Graham, like we're getting guys off free agency that are getting up there, and I don't want just a Band-Aid. I want there to be a future at that position, and hopefully Sternberger fits that bill. But let me know what you think down below. If you think that Jimmy Graham is going to have a significantly better season than 636 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all the social media you see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and of course here on YouTube. But thank you so much for watching. There'll be some more videos out this week and definitely next week. But I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.